gonna get hit. You stumble a little bit, and you're gonna get hit.
That is a street.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I don't know.
Just got the
I don't think that.
Well, I mean, we need to see.
Oh, okay, because they have the garage and something. Oh, it is right on the street. So that, is that one of the deviations?
See, that's specifically on that sheet for you. I'm over it. I was so happy to go to the
Check, check, check.
That means you
No, it
we need
wouldn't.
a deviation for that too. That'd be 8 feet.
All right, guys, we're live.
All right.
All right, we'll call order the meeting of the Zoning and Planning Committee on 6 o'clock on October 16th. If you all rise, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance followed by a moment of solemn prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, in attendance tonight is myself, the chairman, Brian Frater. Representative from Ward 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all here, plus the zoning, head of the zoning commission. Okay. Item number 2, Mr. Garrett Garcia, owner of the property currently known as 119 Lakeside Drive, has made an application for a variance from the required street frontage in order to split a lot into 3 new lots. Each lot is requested an 11-foot variance in order to be 89 feet wide instead of the required 100 feet as stated in ordinance 349. Each lot will meet the required 12,000 square feet and will not need an additional variance. Mr. Garcia here, please come up. State your name and
My name's Garrett Garcia. My brother and I own the property. We also own Garcia and Son Developments, little custom homes in town. So we bought this property. There was another house adjoining it that went under contract, and they called us, asked us if we were interested in buying this large parcel from them at closing, and we did. So what I believe what this was, all of it was it was 4 lots. The house was on, then these 3 lots. He combined it all into one for tax reasons. So you'll see the 89.5. It's actually like right at 90, because that's what Lakewood was divided up. If you, I printed off some maps if anybody needs it. If you look down Lakewood is all 89 to 90 foot lots.
Yep.
North, directly behind us is Aiken Street, and it's all 75 foot lots. So, you know, yes, we need a variance, but we want to go back to what was there. We want to build 3 custom homes and sell them is what we want to do. I didn't even realize that I couldn't do it when I bought it, to be honest. I thought it was there, but that's what we want to do.
Commissioners, you have some questions?
I got one. On the north end of the property, all the water comes down off the road, and there's that big swale there. It's gonna take up a big chunk of that far north lot. Is your house gonna be over far enough to leave that swale there, or are you gonna put storm drain in to get the water? Cause all the water comes down the road from the north, and then from the east down that other road, and goes right into that swale.
Can I show you a part just to make sure we're on the same page?
Sure.
Picture. I did print that, so there's a huge ditch here.
Yeah, this water comes down here. There's a big swale right here. It comes down here, all
That's
goes
correct.
there and gets there and comes into that pond that's down here.
That's not gonna change. This is a drop off. I think it's actually on the neighbor's side. But no, I'm not gonna, if you've been there now, the lot is full. There's
That
no
was
more-
there.
There's no more
yesterday.
dirt going on it. No.
Yeah, cause
That's
I mean, if you build too far over here,
No.
you know, the property's just gonna dive right off into there if you leave it. So that was my only real concern was that swale.
No, and Josh will he's good at, holding my feet to the fire on that. So we'll have to do it on every side of the lot, to be honest with you. He makes it show drainage on.
Yeah,
every
that's just a
lot.
big swale
Yes, sir.
there.
Yep.
Any other questions?
So I mean, not really a question, but like in your open statement, I guess what you were saying is that most of the properties in that area are not 100-foot street front, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's what it looks like on the map.
Yeah, so the two across the street have were combined. There's 100, 140, and actually across the street, we bought that and divided that, and I did it, we were able to do 100, 103, 104, all the way to the beach. And then the gentleman on the beach ended up buying the whole plat from us. So there's a gentleman on, Doug Allers owns the house with brick columns on, called the Bay St. Louis side of Lakewood. He bought that whole section all the way back from us. But yeah, if you keep going down the road, the actual subdivision's 90 foot, 90 foot, 90 foot. Like I said, there's I think the one adjacent on Lakewood, the first house was, he's 183. There's two
Yeah,
lots.
it's a wide variety, but it just, looking at a map, I
Yes.
mean, there's a lot of property that's not 100 foot.
Correct.
And that's kind of what I noticed by looking into that,
Yeah.
Now, you building custom homes for somebody, or are they spec?
So honestly, this is something I've been trying to do for the past 2 years and just kept forgetting about it. We're gonna build, usually what happens, we put a sign, we're building custom homes, but usually we put a sign and they're sold before we start, or somebody
Yeah.
wants to jump up on our list, it's the way to jump up
That's
on
just
the
more
list.
curiosity.
To start, yes, sir, yep.
Yeah.
So the last, what we call spec is not spec, I mean, like the one that's going up on Nicholson, that was a spec.
Yeah,
I mean, it was $1 million home, but that's a spec,
yeah.
yeah.
So you don't anticipate them being short-term rentals then?
I mean, I
You-
can't
you
say
can't
yes or
control.
no to
You're
that,
gonna
but-
get rid of them.
Yeah,
so.
I'm not holding on to them. I sold the one I had on the beach in Waveland, so I don't have any more short-term rentals. Right in front of this Bliss and where the Bliss and Basement go. They did great, but, everything we did on commercial property now in Bay St. Louis, so.
Anybody, no more questions? Anybody from the audience, pro or con? And did we get any, Jerry, did we get any letters,
There's a young lady.
one way or the other?
This lady.
Come on up. Hi, just state your name and your address.
Karen Stewart, 126 Bienville in Waveland.
Okay.
And it's more a point of just information. I'm a resident of Waveland for a year. It's a wonderful community. I'm so happy I live here. And Mr. Garcia's properties are, I watch them being built, and they're lovely. I'm just trying to understand, if ordinances say 100 feet, why are there all of these 89 here, 90 here, 70 there? I'm just trying to understand it. What's the point of the ordinance?
Well, some of these
And
lots.
I don't mean to be disrespectful.
No, I understand. Some of these lots were pre-platted years and years and years ago. In fact, there are a bunch of 25 and 50-foot lots, and people have built on 50-foot lots. It was before my time. I think, they just tried, I guess after Katrina, they probably tried to set some standard on sizes. It was after Katrina. 100 was just the number they came up with. They originally had, 12,500 square feet. And now, we will be talking about this tonight, there's a request to change that to 10,000 square feet, size of a lot. But, I mean, they are what they are. And granted, so,
I just,
that's what we're here for, to
well, but maybe we
to
change the
entertain the
ordinance.
request of variances.
I mean, I think the issue is you change it to whatever you change it at, there's always gonna be something, because Waveland's not a big square. Things move and things change and different things, and, people back then when there was no ordinance, they, sort of messed up the measurements. So it's just sort of a baseline. Then from that baseline, us and the aldermen can look at it and say, does this fit what Waveland's vision is? So it's just sort of a baseline.
well, that's helpful then, because to me, an ordinance is a rule. And a rule is
Yeah,
followed.
that's my understanding of it.
Unless there's an
anyway.
exception.
Yeah.
So it sounds like exceptions are common, and I should not expect that it's not gonna be uncommon, to have those exceptions. And I don't need to take up more of your time. I'm sure Mr. Garcia is gonna build a beautiful home, because they all are. It's just, exceptions lead to, exceptions lead to, and there's been a huge discussion in our neighboring community
Yes.
about a lot of those exceptions.
Well, they have to be reasonable requests.
Good
Okay.
work. Thank you,
Okay.
sir, and thank you all for allowing me to speak.
Any other? I guess I will entertain a motion to accept.
Motion.
Motion by Forrest, seconded by
I'll say
two. We'll vote. 1,
Yes.
2,
yes.
3,
Yes.
4. Yes, motion is carried, and that's subject to whatever the ordinance number is. Okay, number 3. Henry DeVell, owner of the property commonly known as 1055 Almar Street, has made an application for a conditional use in order to construct an accessory structure over 500 square feet. The proposed accessory structure would be 1,600 square feet. The structure will be used as storage and workshop for the owner. The structure meets all setback requirements and does not need additional variances. Mr. DeVell, are you here? Please come up, introduce yourself, and just restate your request.
Good evening, my name is Henry Bell. Getting permission for an access for a storage shed. This is for my father. He's out of town right now, so I'm standing in his stead. It's a 40 by 40 shed. It's just so he can put lawnmowers, motorcycle, all this stuff he's had. It's just, he didn't have a shed rebuilt after Katrina. He's just gotten his yard out of control. He's trying to consolidate all his property, make it so it can't be stolen, and he has a place to do crafts and things of that nature.
All right, I have one quick question. On your, it is 40 by 40, because on your diagram that got submitted, it was 30 by 40.
I think what he did was he applied for 40 by 40. I think what he was gonna do was 30 by 40, but the young lady that was up there told him to just go for a larger, and then you could always build down.
So you're requesting the 1,600 square feet.
Yes, sir, but it is gonna be a 30 by 40, more than 99% sure.
All right,
But it was told to ask for 40 by 40.
okay. Let me ask you two questions. Your lot is approximately 96 wide by about 144 in depth, is that right? No.
No,
No, it should be,
there's a lot bigger
What
than that.
size is it?
it should be about 3 or 400
That's what I
feet.
thought. I was looking at GeoPortal. Yeah, that's where I saw it. So what is that?
Looks like about a 300 by 150.
So 45,000 square feet.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In that ballpark.
And last question, you have any idea of the square footage of your home, roughly?
1,620 square feet,
Okay,
ballparking, I don't know.
okay. That's my clarification. Commissioners?
Did you say 1,700?
60.
Geoportal has it at 1,400.
1,400.
The county tax assessor website has it at 1,400.
Any questions?
Yeah. Why is he looking to build it so close to the road? This, that George or whatever the other street is? Just,
I'll be honest with you, I thought it was too far from the road myself. He said he's about 40 to 50 feet from the road.
no, he's only 10, 11 foot. One place says 10, other says 11.
This
Yeah, I
is
see
the
that.
proposed site plan here showing, it's actually showing 14. That's not correct.
I'm sorry. It's closer to, it's between 30 and 40 feet.
So back in towards that other slab more.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there gonna be plumbing in there?
No.
Additional information. Later on in our packet, we're gonna be discussing some changes to the accessory size buildings. And what has been proposed by the alderman, they had a workshop, is that the maximum size accessory building will be 900 square feet, subject to not to exceed 50% of the square footage of the home, okay? So, I'm just speaking for myself, if you were on a much smaller lot, I would think we would hold you to that. The fact that you're on a 45,000 square foot lot,
Yes, sir.
they might consider
Okay.
something larger.
Yeah, cause in that workshop we had, Shane LaFontaine was talking about that with the bigger lots, you know, it would,
But
You
it,
know.
it didn't get
But
put
didn't
into their
really get-
request,
yeah.
because I
he
questioned
said
him
those
about
would
it.
come up for a variant, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I thought maybe he was saying 900 or 50% of the square footage of, well, no, never mind, forget that.
They just never did.
Yeah,
Like, one thing LaFontaine was saying, that I agree, a lot of people have way more vehicles and things that, you know, that, I mean, it used to be 500 square foot,
It was
which I think was
ridiculous.
way too small. But, I think what's happening is that, you know, I think the city's trying to work with that, and actually it's it's worked in right now, that we're trying to move it up, and I think it is gonna be moved up to 900 square foot. And I think they trying to make it better, where maybe we can get more people to stick to the regulations and not have variances going out on so many. I know I would have liked to build a bigger garage than I did, but I think they're really trying to work with the people and make it big enough that it is doable. I mean, a 900 square foot, garage or accessory building is a lot better than 500.
500,
yeah.
So, to me, I would have a hard time, I know we're trying to bring it down and work with the people and make it better. So I would have a hard time voting to go ahead and say yes to jump up to 1,600 square foot when we're trying to keep it to 900, which is way more doable.
Right.
But I understand, because I personally would like to have as big a garage as I can, but I can't, you know?
Yeah, cause his lot, even with all the structures, don't even take up half of the property, even if he was to add that. He
Yeah.
still has
Right. It would
that
be
much property
Less than a
empty.
quarter of it, yeah.
Yeah.
The property opens up in the back, and
Mhm.
30 or 40 feet, about halfway, and it goes all the way
Yeah.
around. I think the other thing he was trying to build a little bit larger is there's a septic pump or something out there on the back of the property.
A lift station, yeah,
lift station.
it's a lift station.
Lift station, yeah,
Yeah.
and it makes a lot of noise, and it's just an eyesore for him, and that's what he wanted to try and just put something up, so he never has to see it, and doesn't wanna hear it. That was one of his other minor things to think about.
Yeah.
But is 1,200, is that gonna be like a 30 by 40? Would that be too much?
Well, I mean, that's what they trying to get it to, the thing is, they made a rule bigger that I think, a lot of people, and at the meeting they had, that I happened to just be attending, I know a lot of people didn't agree, they wanted it even bigger, but to jump from 500 to 900, at least they got somewhere with it, and I think they made it more palatable to more people, and that's what they trying to get us to stick to, is to keep it at 900, which is,
They did.
I mean,
make-
it don't meet everybody's desires,
Right,
obviously,
what's-
you know?
Yeah.
What would be the
900.
in there?
They did make the comment that if it was bigger than, the request was bigger than 900, then it would come to us, implying that there is some leeway, and I interpret the leeway
But then the house would.
contingent upon the physical size of the lot,
It's a lot.
okay?
That's
So
what I took
someone,
it as.
if you were a 10 or 12,000 square foot lot, then I think
That makes
personally,
sense.
I would hold you to
Yeah.
the 9 or to the 50%. I mean, since you're 4 times that,
Well, or would they,
in any event, whatever we recommend
Yeah.
goes to the alderman this Wednesday,
Yes, sir.
and that goes to the other gentleman too, Mr. Garcia, he left.
and
So you have to complete your case all over again.
don't they also have, it's kind of like we go, if we would approve this, we're kind of against both of the ideas they had, right? They would like to keep it at 900, and they wouldn't like it more than,
900 would mean you don't come for a variance.
50% of the
If you go
square
over 900,
footage of
you'd
the
have to come
resident.
for a variance.
I know, but they also said that they wouldn't want a building more than half the size of
That's what I just said, if 50%
of
of
the
the
house, so
resident.
that would be above that too,
Of the house.
of the house
Oh,
itself.
okay.
So
I
then
thought you
you,
said the lot, sir.
No.
No.
I'm sorry.
no, so like.
I beg, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, so then if you got a 900 square foot garage, you're more than double the size of the house also. So
That's true.
that's, to me, I don't know,
I mean, would you consider the 1,200?
Absolutely, I'll lock that in right now. That's what he really wants, and that's what I'm gonna help him, I'm gonna orchestrate that for him. He was just told to ask for that, and they could always build smaller.
yeah, from your drawings, it looked like that's what you were more
Yeah.
thinking, that's what you need, that's what he's needing now
He's
anyway.
really, he's very indecisive, and I'm trying to push him, and he really needs a 30 by 40 with a 10-foot ceiling, that's all he needs. Like a 312 pitch. nothing inside it, two garage doors, two windows, and then a walk-in door. And it's just that I have enough for him to park his truck, his boat, he's gonna have his four-wheeler, his motorcycle, and then have an area where he can do his stuff outside. And his welding and stuff like that, where he's not under his carport, having his stuff exposed to the elements.
Well, like you said, I mean,
Y'all gotta make a motion one way or the other. You know, you can make it whatever you want.
I'll make a motion, yes.
Pardon?
I'll motion it, yes.
For the 1,600?
No, 1,200,
For the 1,200?
yeah.
Have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Second by four. Two made the motion, four made the, anybody in the audience? Yea or
anybody
nay?
around, around the house would have a, I mean, they all were notified, right? So if anyone had an objection to it,
No
doesn't
letters,
look like
Jerry?
it.
Nobody said?
No, we haven't got
Okay.
no emails?
Who said?
I did.
Okay. All right, I'll call the vote. 1,
No.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Yes, passed 3 to 1. Come back on,
Now, that's gonna be on 1,200 square.
on the 1,200.
not
Okay,
1,600.
come back Wednesday, okay? And that also is subject to .906.3. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Number 4, Kim Boucher, owner of property commonly known as 1932 Nicholson, has made an application for a variance in order to construct 2 duplexes on a property zone R2, single and 2-family residence. Applicant is requesting a 7,688 square foot variance from the required 8,500 square feet per unit as stated in ordinance 349. 8,500 square feet requirement equals a total of 34,000 square feet of lot area in order to construct 2 duplexes, 4 units. The property is currently 26,312 square feet. Therefore, the difference is the 7688 that they requested. You all here tonight? Everyone's here? Just as a background, a couple of years ago, it was R1, and the owner came in and wanted it to be commercial, and we cannot jump it that many steps, so it was then rezoned to R2. I notice across the street is commercial, and behind them going towards Highway 90, I believe is also commercial. And then I think on the side street, there are a couple of duplexes. That's just the background that I know
So,
of. Your options are we could table this if you want to ask them questions, or,
I mean, to me, they asking for a pretty big, I guess, deviation from one thing. If it is R2, which it is, right? It's R2 is what it's listed
Right.
now, and that's single R2 family, and and it's well written in the deal. They saying they only come up with 2,600 square feet or something like that of property, but they're gonna need 34,000, right? 34,000 square feet is what they would need to meet the R2, and then all they have is 26,000. To me, that's pretty good percentage off of what they need. And then even if you look at R3, they would need 30,000 to build them, to build that on R3. So I just think it's asking for a lot. The property, the way it's laid out for R2, it seems like the property's just not large enough for what they proposing to do.
it's approximately about 1,900 square feet per unit variance.
Yeah, I just think that, to me, it's asking a lot. I mean, it's an R2, it's not an R3, and even if it was an R3, they still small for an R3. So, I wouldn't think that's the way to go.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna make clarification that what they're asking for here is just for square footage. They can meet setback requirements and everything else. I guess apparently they're not asking for anything else.
So how far is this from the one we approved that, I'm trying
Arnold.
We approved one not too long ago.
Was it the one on Arnold?
No, it was the, was it on our own?
I think it's pretty
Yeah, it's
similar
right,
situation.
yeah, it's like within a couple hundred feet from the one on the corner of, I think Nicholson and Warren, wasn't it? At the church right there? Yeah,
That's Arnold.
yeah.
Yeah, L'Oreal is this one.
Yeah, well, yeah, because we approved it, because the rest of the duplexes down the street.
It's a similar situation. I think he had to ask for more,
Yeah,
but, I mean, there's plenty of room there and setbacks are met and all that stuff. They had a stipulation to where they had to
put a fence up.
fence,
Fence, yeah.
privacy fence, 2,000 square foot maximum on per unit, I think.
Yeah, I think they're about done building it. So is anybody here for or against?
So what are the wishes of the commissioners? Vote yes, vote no, or table it?
I think we should table it too.
I mean, the people I thought they, you would think you would come.
Yeah.
I would,
So you're gonna make a motion to table it?
Yes, I'll make
and
a
I
motion.
would second that. I
Okay.
would think you're not ready to vote on that if you're not even here to
All
talk
right,
about
any
it.
further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote 1,
Yes.
2, 3,
Yes. table.
4.
Yes.
I pass 4-0 to table it. Okay, number 5. List by the Bay LLC, owner of the property commonly known as 106 South Beach Boulevard, in combination with multiple other properties in the rear between St. Joseph Street and Coleman Avenue, has made an application for conditional use in order for residential plan development project. The applicant is requesting to build multiple structures with mixed residential and commercial uses. There will be 8 buildings in total, which will be constructed in 5 phases. The applicant is requesting a departure from the minimum lot dimensions, minimum area regulations, minimum build-out, and the maximum building area for residential buildings on St. Joseph is allowed in section 401.8 of the ordinance. Okay. So, thank you.
My name is Pepper Treg, and I'm the owner. And first, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. And about 4 years ago, I visited Waveland, and then this property came up for sale. And during that time, I had found a place to live. So about a mile down the road off of Market Street, we bought a home at 704 South Beach. And then when this property came up, and Dean was my real estate agent, and he sold the property. But when I did get a contract on it, I didn't know that it had 34 townhomes on it prior to the storm, and we needed to go through 34 title searches. So that ended up being a year and 3 months, and I was like, what am I getting myself into? But anyway, I just fell in love with the area, and then now, and I just saw so much potential. Since then, we've had a lot of time to talk to a lot of people in the area, see what their visions were, not just mine. And we came up with a pretty good plan, I think, that we kicked around back and forth for this amount of time. And of course, Joe knows a lot more than I do. He's gonna help me with the development. He's gonna explain to y'all what we plan to do, and hopefully we get the TV working soon.
It was up there earlier.
Who was it?
You press the power button, Joe?
It's plugged in here, so.
It's probably better that my picture's not up there, but.
Go to slideshow on your computer. I had a copy yesterday.
It was, yeah, definitely worth a little while.
Mm-hmm.
TV on.
Tell me how to do it.
Try and unplug it and plug it back in there.
You think so? Wanna try that, John?
Yeah, try.
Usually my wife suggested for any of that.
How about using the other one?
Can it?
It has its own light, it's coming.
Is it on? Josh, what about the other TV?
I can try it real quick.
so good.
Right input, I guess.
Check it.
You got the right HDMI?
Check it on your,
Well, that's display.
We're looking at his grandkid.
I had this problem at St. Rose the other day.
Which, in two,
Yeah.
Give me just a sec.
it
Yeah, do number
says-
two.
it's set to the input.
Okay.
Click it again.
It's in HDMI too now.
I'm in, it's plugged in my computer.
Yeah, there you go. Turn it off, turn it back on. Shoot.
I know, I'm trying to find where it's at. You on one?
It's on two.
It is on two?
I don't know why it worked a minute ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked perfect just a little while ago.
Try them all.
Gee, turn your computer off and turn it back on.
Try,
Something happened,
three.
it worked, it used to work.
Try which one?
Three.
If you go to if it's on a PowerPoint, all you got, if it's on a PowerPoint, you can go up to slideshow and then go presentation and it'll, sometimes it'll begin.
Zoom share.
It's coming out of a certain HDMI out of there, right?
We just had it hooked up,
So
just like this.
I'm doing it this way.
I would think it ought
So
to be
this guy
one.
walks into a bar.
Yeah, there you go. Now you want to code for this.
Oh, he's on the mat. I can't do it.
Oh, yeah, well, I can use the phone.
Yeah, I can't do it. But I had the same problem at St. Louis on Thursday. And what I did is I went to, slideshow. And then I went to the presentation. And it came up.
Yeah, the thing with that, it's supposed to just plug it in.
But it don't, everything else is plugging in.
A little more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
It's frustrating. Getting ready to do a nice presentation, can't do it.
You know why I voted no for that last one? Because I don't think the house should be, the shed should be almost as big as your house. Only 200 feet there.
For me, I voted yes because it's such a big lot.
The shed should not be as big as your house. What happened?
So you know what you did?
The neighbors are gonna be,
So,
the neighbors are
Yeah,
gonna
speak into the microphone.
clean up your shop.
My background is the pool business. I've been in the pool business for almost 30 years, and I developed a strip mall in New Orleans. I'm from Metairie, developed in New Orleans, and I took this piece of land and I kind of underutilized the land, but since I worked there, put my business there, it ended up being a pretty good deal. With this, and Jill will explain to you what we're trying to propose, not a density, project. It's, you know, they had 34 condos there before. We're proposing to do 21 with a mixed use. So I'll turn it over to Joe and let him explain.
From a design standpoint, we noticed that Coleman was really a sense.
Yeah, speak with the microphone, because it's on YouTube.
We talk to the audience or y'all?
You can talk to them.
So, from a design standpoint, we felt that Coleman Street deserves, some character that'll bring people to the area, and revitalize some of the commercial aspects of Coleman Street. We also realized that St. Joseph Street is residential. Some original concepts that were passed by maybe a year ago or so was a heck of a lot more dense. And after looking at the demographics, we basically started thinking about, well, how do you tackle this project? Waveland's a small community. How do you not build Goliath and then they might come and you have a failed project and then what do you have? Egg on your face. Or Pepper's overreached. He's not your typical developer that's gonna come in with a monumental project, be able to fund it totally and then win or lose, you know? So the approach was to say, let's do a planned development. And in this city, you don't have a planned unit development ordinance ability. All you have is a special condition use permit. So that's where we got some good legal advice, I think, on how we could manage a site plan that we can introduce to the public, and get a site plan approved. There's a lot of other things that still have to occur, but it was about, all right, what's the master plan? So we came up with 4 steps. So it's basically 4 phases. Timing might be a question, but we really don't have that answer. If I had a crystal ball, I'd be able to answer that. So I put the slide on here, Pepper. I go back, when Pepper was 3 years old now.
Why don't you hold the microphone?
Pepper and I have known each other for at least 30 years. And I've watched him develop this company from him with calluses on his hands, building his swimming pools. You know, he's well-educated, college degree guy, I'm sorry. And really where the rubber meets the road, you're gonna get a guy like Pepper. So when he called me, he said, look, I don't know what I'm gonna do here. I've got a lot of ideas. Can you help me? And we sat down, came over to Waveland to meet him at his house, and he explained what his vision was, which is run, I guess, some semi-retire in the New Orleans area, like most people are doing, and coming this way. Fell in love with Waveland. He's got a house over here. Kind of put this project together and be part of the community. So what's the lowest entry point for a project like this? And we thought it was St. Joseph Street and some condos, which we developed 3 buildings designs for St. Joseph Street as phase 1, and then a hybrid retail, I'll call it special events type retail stuff on Coleman Street as part of phase 1. So that, obviously, y'all know where the location's at. Just a beautiful picture. So up on the screen, that would be the 3 buildings with 3 condos in each building, all raised, all 2-car parking under the house or the structure. No need for parking in a driveway or anything like that. We have an entrance in the front and an entrance from the rear so that cars can go in and out, front and back. A small courtyard in the front, and then a entry which FEMA allows you to do at the ground level, because we want to be above the BFE and follow the flood codes and things like that. And then we designed those buildings to have a single story, 1 floor, 3-bedroom with an office type condo. And I think, what's that? On St. Joseph Street. On the other side, you'll see a little wide gray area. That's where we're looking at doing the special events that would try and migrate what's already been populated and seeded on Coleman Street, some of these activities y'all do in the street right away. And as we talk to some of the leadership at the city, the idea is there to start the retail side of it, to do some sort of mobile systems, maybe food truck type stuff, but utilize on Pepper's property to start getting some of the service stuff off the right of way when there's an event, or things like that, but utilizing Pepper's property to do that. And bring in different venues that either gonna succeed or fail, but we'll get a taste for that as things move forward. Potentially, that moves us into, the phase two. Well, that's the and don't take these actual designs as exact, but that's kind of the St. Joseph Street elevations. Like I said, it's got a garage entry on the street, garage from the backside, and then the second floor is the actual living space. But it's not a three-story structure on St. Joseph to stay with a lower profile. We're trying to work on some vernacular combined architecture, so these were just schematic conceptuals, but as you look at Pepper's work, if you've seen his pools, nothing's gonna be second class with him when he does his projects. Just a street view of obviously Coleman. Now we move into what we think's gonna be phase two, but we might have to switch a phase back and forth depending on economics and how things move forward. But that would be the next phase. Oh, let me go back to phase one real quick. The middle area doing phase one, and until we start going to phase three, the idea there is it'll be a green space, and we've been talking about maybe shaping that to be for soccer games and community activities until the warrants our next phases. So we're trying to draw people here on the weekends to do some things on that property. So phase two is the next threeplex, which is whether we put a private street across or we continue the right-of-way of the, I forgot the name of the street. Arlington over to St. Joseph. That's a discussion between the city, Public Works and Infrastructure, Fire Department, obviously Police Protection and Pepper, and what's the best way to achieve a cross connection to St. Joseph or a private drive to the 3 units on that area. But that's the footprint of all the threeplexes that I'll say is traditional design. As things move forward, you still have the green space, but you start ramping up some of the activity on Coleman Street if the seeds are planted and the trees are growing properly. Just some more. Now we're moving up. So phase 3 is where we really get into the project on the retail side. The idea is if we can seed that ground level activity that has to meet FEMA requirements, and it's gotta be transient a little bit, and it's successful, then the successful will have an opportunity to do retail on the second floor, or the top level. So that's where Pepper's interested in building what I'll call a plaza, and that's where you'll have some outdoor swimming pools, that's at the level of the condos, both public and private, and you'll have that black rectangle at the top. Above the parking below, you'll have retail that I'm hoping mirror images what's below it, more static. Like, let's say we cafe them on food truck in the beginning, or some sort of transient type services. They are profitable, then they'll have the first option with Pepper to rent, 1,500 square feet above on the second floor. So that would be phase 3. And then this is how that mezzanine looks, the plaza. Just conceptual. And then phase 4 is, if we get to that point, 3 more single floor condos on top of commercial. I don't know if y'all familiar with, obviously most people are French Quarter. It's kind of like the Plantabla concept by Jackson Square where you have all retail shops below, but these aren't on the ground because we can't do it with new FEMA regs. So those shops will be on the second floor, the plaza level, and then above that would be the condos, not apartments. And then that's a little better picture of a collage. The bottom left is like the food truck area and the colonnade along Coleman Street with some sun screening. The middle one is that public space that will have 2 pools in it. And the idea is that he might have some outside functions, mini concerts and things like that. It's kind of like a public-private partnership with Pepper and the community in which y'all really see coming, and how much activity you want, and how much y'all don't want in the future. And then that's Pepper's statement basically, because he's gonna live here and retire here, I think, and it did have, we did miss the B.
Oh, well,
I haven't said that. It did cut, I had B, it's not Liz, y'all, it's Bliss by the Bay. And then Pepper said something one day, and I just put it in quotes. From a design standpoint, if y'all have any questions, or y'all have any questions, I'm open to them. And then obviously, the real guru on making the ordinance or the plan unit, the special, conditional use permit for the property. Yes?
Are we gonna all have to come up there
You can.
and just speak?
Oh, well.
Yeah, you really should,
Yes.
That's up
Into the
to-
microphone.
because you're on TV.
You know, make
We have to
them
type
Yeah.
all this stuff in.
Introduce yourself, give her the microphone, yeah.
I'm Althea Boudreau. I'm an owner at 220 Coleman Avenue, which is not across the street by Diagonal. My question is, from your diagram that you have up here, your lower buildings are gonna be on St. Joseph, and your higher buildings are gonna be right on the edge of Coleman Avenue? What is the
No,
setback
that's
gonna be?
The plan is, depending on site planning, right now we're at conceptual, and we're trying to get a site plan, master plan approved, that's where we're at,
Okay,
gonna use. From a design standpoint, you're gonna have the side, you're gonna have obviously the curb, let's start there.
Right.
Then you have the sidewalk that was built with the lighting,
right,
all right? Then, my thoughts are that behind that, you'd have about an 8-foot covered walkway. That's actually covered, and then behind that, you'd have, I'm thinking like carriage doors that would open and close, and you'd have the food truck behind it. So it's kinda like
okay.
a colonnade wall.
The last phase, where you're building commercial off the ground, and then you're gonna have residential above that, condos,
They are all set back 16 feet
16.
up at the top. So you can have the
Covered.
walkway below.
Got
So I'm hoping that, and I don't know if this will happen, but from City Hall to the beach, you'll have a covered walk, okay, with some sort of surface paving and lighting, so that people can stay out of the weather. Not like we're asking to go to the curb, like some communities do with anything, but above that would be the walk,
Okay.
the balcony, so to speak.
What's your anticipated total height to the top
On
of
the
the building?
building, oh, it's, I think with 30, is it 34? I think I actually put that in. Well, we got, FEMA's putting us at, I think 17, below structure.
Mm-hmm.
We have 2 foot, and then we're gonna have 10 foot on ceilings, so you got it 30-something feet.
35.
Okay,
No, I'm not gonna be over 35, because Pepper that's the other thing, right now, we have a parapet with a pitched roof behind it, that's why you see the flat parapet
Right, right.
roof. My first sketches were 7/12 pitch, that would put it, under code, you'd still meet the required height limits on
Okay.
E versus
so
F.
I'm just gonna, the reason for my question is, I'm further back from the beach than you are.
Yeah.
So when I build my building, and I'm trying to look down Coleman Avenue, and y'all are only 10 feet from the street, I've lost all view of the water. The closer you get to Coleman Avenue, the more you're blocking everybody else that's further down, trying to build up
Well,
businesses.
first, Pepper
because-
doesn't own that corner,
I get that,
so.
but that's a big spot. This
What
is
I'd like to do is maybe meet with you about that visual issue, because I think what you're gonna see is the height off the ground. The front corner of his building is set back on the second floor.
And
The
that-
ground is transparent, see-through, except for when you close those
Correct.
doors.
But we all have to be up, so we're all
Absolutely.
gonna be up, and we're gonna be building something that might wanna look down the street. And we're gonna be under the requirements of having a setback, and you're all asking for a plan that's not gonna include any of that.
Well, I don't know if you're gonna come back and ask for something similar.
Well, I know, I'm
because
just,
Right.
I'm not arguing, I'm just
No, I know, I think
factually, that's
This is
what
a
y'all are
good
looking to
subject,
do.
because one of my thoughts, and we've talked lightly about it, is that Coleman Street probably needs some definition,
Mhm.
so that it has some unity for a sense of place,
Right.
so people have an image of what Coleman Street is to Waveland.
Right,
Now, Pepper's first, he might be setting a tone for it,
right,
I don't know, we'll
Right.
see where that goes. But because it's commercial, Coleman Street, and what I've seen with the activity and special events that I think the city wants to do there, I think you're looking at everybody
Get a
approach.
piece of it, get a
Well,
piece of the
and
land.
have that corridor though.
Right,
I think
right.
it's gonna be, everybody needs to really talk about Coleman
And the only other thing to say is, you mentioned St. Joseph is residential, we're all C1, which is residential and commercial, so.
We're trying to be,
Not
trying to be
trying-
palatable to those
Right,
residents
right.
across the street. We wouldn't wanna put commercial
I understand.
facing them, so that's what.
I'm on Terrace, I was on Terrace, so I
Okay.
totally understand. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
No, I wasn't trying to, I wanna engage the conversation because what he does is gonna set a precedent for everybody
Exactly.
else.
Thank you.
As a clarification, you all are in C2, and you have a 0 setback requirement. You're in C1, and you have a 10-foot setback, front. CO, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So Josh,
You have
that
a-
would be my
so you have a
question.
10-foot
There's no
minimum setback.
setback in the Coleman district?
No, not in
Okay.
CO2.
No, there's no setback requirement?
Right.
No. If you go to page 90 of your zoning,
Yeah.
sorry?
There's a green space requirement though.
Yeah.
There's a density requirement.
Green space, you have to have a certain percentage of your space has to be green space.
Yeah, you can't build more, yeah, there's a percentage, yes.
I have a question.
Okay,
On
the
St.
microphone.
Joseph. Okay. I live on St. Joseph Street, so I was very in tune to this project.
Thank you.
When I looked at this page, and
I knew that page you were gonna look at, yes.
Okay. Is this the street or is this a sidewalk?
First, it's conceptual drawing.
I understand.
We're set back on St. Joseph Street, if I'm not mistaken, like 20 feet.
No, you still
About
see.
24
you
feet.
see
But you don't
CO2.
have to.
I don't have to, but I don't want the cars over the sidewalk. And if you, let's say I have a visitor, I want them to be able to pull up to that garage door and not block the sidewalk. So I set it back enough for a 22-foot car to fit underneath that little overhang. So I'll give you a drawing that's in plan to show you that. This is just, it's not the road.
Okay, since I stressed over this for about 2 weeks, I'm gonna go on and say what my concern is. My concern is that if you are in this parking garage and you back out to St. Joseph Street, that's kind of a safety issue for me. So if you're telling me that there's another way,
We have two entrances.
yeah, one in the back and
Yeah,
then
there's
this
a
one.
garage door here,
Mm-hmm,
and then there's a garage door on the backside.
okay.
Because when you build a plaza, underneath that's gonna be parking.
Okay, so they could pull out,
Yes.
they can pull in there and then they pull,
Yeah, they can, if the car in front of them is not leaving, they have to back out.
okay, that was the concern that I had, the
Right.
backing out into the street. I know, I have a pretty good, big driveway at my house. And when I back out into the street, if I just look briefly the other direction, there's a car coming and you don't see it.
Well, St.
So-
Joseph's narrow.
It is it is narrow. I've been there for about 12 years, so I know
You
it's
have to
narrow.
culvert that whole street,
Okay,
okay, so that you don't have, first of all, a narrow drive
uh-huh.
where you could drop off in the ditch. So,
No, they're gonna be wet,
right, so you're gonna have a garage door that's 16 feet wide. I think 16 and 16 is the,
Double.
32 feet wide is kind of. So that you have a 14-foot garage door, you can have at least a 16-foot driveway to back out. I mean,
No, she's asking you, what is the distance from the right of way to the door?
Yeah, you
I
set
think
back,
it's 20-something feet, because I wanna fit a car there.
okay.
I don't want the
So you'd
car
probably
sit-
be about
I don't want
20.
a visitor
It's about
park over the
25.
sidewalk,
So it won't be built on the property line, it'll
No.
probably be built
not on St. Joseph.
25 feet.
Line of sight, there wouldn't be a line of sight.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, that's my concern,
I'm sorry.
the line of
I
sight.
missed what you were asking.
Yeah, it's the safety issue that I was concerned at. When you're backing out and you just can't see the cars sometime coming from the right or from the left if you're looking the opposite direction.
And I'll check in to make sure the dimensioning of that, but I think I did accommodate an average sized car, parked between the sidewalk, the back bumper,
Mhm.
and
Garage door.
the garage door.
Yeah, because you can't park on the street St. Joseph
Right.
too long because
Right.
police make you move. I'm one of those
Right.
people that call the police, so.
I get it.
Okay, I just wanna let you know that. But that was my biggest concern, is the safety issue. Other than that, I like the project. If you can put all that in there, it's gonna make my property value go up. But I don't want the safety issue of people backing out into people, because we have a lot of people that walk, and they're on their golf carts and all of that, so that's my concern.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Make sure you check into that.
Any
Okay,
other,
thank you.
any other questions, commissioners?
I don't know if it's a question, but, I mean, it's big, it's a lot. I mean, I live in Waveland, love to have it. I think it's great, but there's just so many unknowns.
Yeah.
In my mind.
That's
I mean,
why-
I need more than I had this for 2-3 weeks, and I've been through it, and I think I studied it, and I'm still like, I still don't know what's really going on. I mean, there's a lot of intends, believes, a
Well,
lot
it's
of
pretty-
language that,
Vague.
We try to define the site plan and the use so that we can get to the next level, but the footprint is the most important thing in the use. As far as any other questions or details, I'll come meet with you
Well,
anything you
that-
want.
That's what I agree with him totally, that I think there's too many unknowns right now. And like, I think it's fantastic I think we're gonna need something like this to get Coleman started. I think it's pretty
Yeah.
exciting to see that. But, you know, looking at the departures, I see 4 listed, and I don't know I don't see a real description of what the actual departures are. And I think, all I'm saying, I think there needs to be some meetings with, like the whole, you know, actually with the alderman and the mayor and people who are gonna make that decision, so they can, like the presentation you just gave, I think that needs to be given to the decision makers in the city to kind of go through it, digest it, and maybe come up with some really good questions that y'all probably can answer. And maybe you have some plans for them, but I think right now, you know, like, it talks about 4, in the description of this particular presentation, it talks about minimum lot dimensions, minimum area regulations, minimum build-out, maximum build-out, and maximum build-out regulations. But there's no real description of what are we talking about. So like for us to approve and say, yeah, let's go forward, I think it needs to be more of a presentation and let people digest it and come up with good questions.
and
maybe
what are we
come up with-
approving? Just a concept, or are we,
Right.
you know?
I'm Malcolm Jones, I'm representing the developer. So the problem that we have is that, can you not hear me? Yeah.
Just lift it
Okay.
up.
Let me just hold it up. All right, so the problem we have is that the City of Waveland's ordinance was drafted back in 2010. They did not create what they call a planned unit development provision in that ordinance at that time. The only thing that they have that is even close to it is this residential plan development that you go through this conditional use process. And in fact, what you're doing is, what you just said, is you're approving the concept to begin with. We have several other stages that we have to go through. We have to plat it like a subdivision, we have to go through all that. We have to meet with all of the different departments that you have to do with a subdivision, so all of those processes are left to be done. The reason we're having to do it as a residential plan development is because if you try to use just the Coleman CO2 zone, you're gonna have some changes from what's required. Now, we can cover these points right now tonight, or we can go ahead and, as you said, use this as an introductory stage, present, and then go ahead and present again at the board level, and then if they need additional information, I'm sure they'll send it back to you for a follow-up meeting if we need to do that. To start with, on like the square footage, you know, you have a requirement that you have to have 7,500 square feet per lot, okay? If it's residential, and it's 2,000 square feet if it's commercial. We don't have an issue with the commercial side, we meet that. The 7,500 is based upon the building, so if you think about the building with 3 units, I believe we're gonna be, pardon me?
It's probably gonna meet it, but right now it's like 800 square feet.
So the unit, each condo unit is what?
Under being 2,500,
Okay.
2,200.
Okay, so if we build out at 2,500 and do 3 units, then we'll meet the 7,500 square feet. But the issue was, we thought we may have to build at 2,200 square feet, so that was gonna make it at 6,600. If we, at 6,600, then technically we're below the 7,500 square feet. That's not uncommon, as you well know, for condo construction, I mean, to have a smaller footprint. So that's why they allow these residential plan developments, which in other cities are called PUDs, planned unit development.
No. The requirement is that it's, for every unit, you have to have a lot that has 7,500 square feet in it. So if you have
Correct.
2 units, or in your case, 3,
Yes,
that would be 22,500 square foot piece of property.
right.
Now, you're one big contiguous piece of property, and we talked about this earlier.
Right.
You're roughly from Arlington Street forward, roughly 100,000 square feet.
Yes,
90,000 would be with these 4 units,
yes,
and 18,000 for Coleman, so that's 108,000. So you're just barely, and this doesn't really apply, I don't think, here, because it's whatever this unit is.
yeah,
So the density is really not an issue. I mean, if
Right.
we required a variance, it'd be a variance of like $400 feet per unit, which is insignificant. But that doesn't really even apply.
it does not apply, but as he said, you
So
know,
it's
if you
not,
take-
the density is not any problem at all.
It's not. The minimum build out and the maximum, those are the other things that we talked about. And so if you look at this whole thing in all phases, then we'll meet these requirements. But if you do it in single phases and you're only considering just that phase, then we may be just below on the 60% minimum build out. So you see what I'm talking about. That's why you have to do this as a phased project. I guess what I'm really trying to get you to think about is when you're doing a planned development, whether you call it a PUD or residential planned development, you're basically saying this property is big enough, because you have to have at least 3 acres, which we do, to go ahead and you write your own rules and your own master plan for that property. So if you approve this, you're effectively only approving the concept at this point. We still have to go through all of the platting stages, all the subdivision requirements, all that has to be done, and all those meetings have to occur with all those departments. That's all still there. The key is this, though, somebody is gonna have to go ahead and take the first step and be the pioneer to create something on Coleman. And Mr. Pepper's plan is to go ahead and put his money where his mouth is. A lot of people have talked about it for quite a long time, but here we are, how many years later for Katrina, and we still don't have anything. So somebody's gonna have to go ahead and step out and say, all right, I'm gonna do this. And rather than go ahead and just build a residential project only, his intent is to go ahead and build a mixed-use project where it has both retail and it has a residential component. And of course, he's trying to go ahead and do this in phases because economics will drive each phase going forward. If, you know, the condos all sell out, which that seems to be the hot commodity these days, people building housing for people to live in. The retail is a little bit more tricky, and it has a lot to do with what's gonna be what the community will want. If they go ahead and get Cafe Du Monde to go ahead and put a food truck there, and it takes off and it does really well, then the Cafe Du Monde will probably go ahead and wanna build a fixed restaurant up in that next level. If they use some other, like Copeland's and some others, they're talking about name brand restaurants coming here and trying to do something more than just the typical, and this is no offense to anybody that has a food truck, but I mean, trying to go ahead and use this to seed more upper scale, if you want to call it, restaurant in those places. And it may be that you'll also have retail and specialty shops, depending upon what the community wants and what the economy will allow. You know, we all would like to know where we're going to be over the next 5 years, but right now, we can only work with what we know. So I think the key is this, is you're approving a concept at this point, and the concept is to allow for 21 residential units or condos of the sizes that we mentioned, and the potential of having food trucks on the bottom, and then a commercial level for the next level, and then potentially more condominiums on top if the demand is there. I think that's the point. And it is, you know, typically you're having somebody come in and they're showing you exactly it's gonna be this way or it's gonna be that way. That's not really the way it works with a planned development or a PUD. It's more a case of you approving the concept and giving them a master plan so that they'll know what they can do over a period of time, okay? And if all goes well, I think the overall plan is to do this within a 3 to 5 year period. We're hoping that we'll do it in a 3-year period, not a 5-year period, but it'll depend upon how these condos sell out and how others come in to want to do the retail part, okay? I know that there's a good bit of ask here and a big request, but whenever somebody is thinking about being a pioneer and taking big chances with their money to try to spur, you know, because I really think that once this happens, you're going to see others trying to do other things on Coleman. But somebody's got to go first. And this project, I think, has the potential of being a wonderful project, and I think it will support what you want to see in the Coleman area, things that maybe you didn't see prior to Katrina, but everybody remembers when we had Jack's Restaurant, we had all kinds of things on Coleman Avenue, and people love coming here. And, you know, they haven't been coming here now for a while, and there's no reason for the city to continue to let all of their retail and residential growth go to other areas. So, yes.
Any questions first, Malcolm?
Yes, sir.
No, does anybody here have any questions? Yeah, just one other comment. I know you all talked, Joe also talked about maybe like Bud's Broiler also.
We talked about this for the one other corner. There was the gentleman that's trying to build on the other corner of Coleman. There was a big discussion about parking. Where are the people gonna park?
Underneath.
Where underneath residential, he's gonna have residential at the top, and he's gonna have commercial in phase 4 possibly. Where are you gonna park?
All right.
Go to the mic, Joe.
I'm sorry. The raised plaza, as you can see, that's all public parking underneath.
Underneath, in
Yes.
the middle of the
Yes,
space?
you're gonna have 2 pools that will take up some of the space,
Okay,
but around those 2 pools that
There'll be-
penetrate, there'll be parking.
okay, because this phase
Yeah, we have to
4,
get-
you mentioned that you were gonna do commercial and then residential on top of it, and those people on top of it are gonna be using the parking underneath.
2 cars per spot. I've got it laid out.
And they'll be able to get under to that
They can have an
space.
elevator to their units up top, on the top, yes.
I'm worried
You're gonna have
because-
off-street parking more than you have now.
All right, but the issue is if everybody says we can park on Coleman Avenue, it's no problem, there's not gonna be enough parking.
we
The
rec-
original
we
ordinances
recognize
said
that.
you have to have X amount of parking for each type of business that you bring in. If it's a restaurant, it's X amount, if it's retail,
course.
it's different. And I'm just asking, where are all these
So-
people gonna park when you go commercial?
So when you approve the site concept and plan, when I go to his office, to
Okay.
pull a permit, to
Okay.
go to commercial, he's
Okay.
gonna say, okay, you got 15,000 square foot of a commercial establishment, and based on use and occupancy, you need this many spots.
Okay.
And we've already calculated what we think's gonna be needed, so we have the footprint outside of food truck and residence parking underneath the plaza.
Of the plaza.
Right, and you'll have a road off of the beach, a main entrance by that
Correct,
point,
correct.
that in and out,
And
for
possibly-
public.
Possibly off of Arlington if you create that, maybe.
Right, well, Arlington's, all right, so Arlington's probably gonna be created no matter what, but it might not be public, it might be private, depending on what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to have
Okay.
it, as a driveway.
I just get
But-
nervous about parking, because I
Of
had a shop
course.
in the Bay for 3 years, and parking became a nightmare, and everybody's fighting over who gets to park where, and now everybody has to pay.
One of the first things I told Pepper, we're gonna have to figure out off-street parking, and that's,
The bay doesn't require on-street parking. And that's only ordinance.
but we're doing.
They're providing it.
I don't want a negative effect on Coleman Street
Right. Well, it's
for
one of-
Pepper.
It's one of the existing ordinances for commercial.
Right.
That you have, I wanna call it an ordinance, I don't know if they still call it an ordinance or a zoning code, that you have to, you know, you're required to have that. I know we're all up off the ground, but even under our buildings sometimes, when you go to build up off the ground, you still might not have the required amount of parking.
Well, if, the reason why you have that big a plaza, number one, is because he wants to do that. Number two is because you're gonna have to balance the parking. That's not retail space.
Right.
So a typical developer would wanna get maximize as much retail space on that
Right.
second level.
Right.
And he's like, well, you know, we're gonna raise it, we're gonna have parking underneath, and I'm gonna get just enough retail front and Coleman, and we're gonna do what we gotta do.
So it might be one of the departures, but it might not have to be one of the departures from what's right now on the books for parking.
I don't think we need to depart from anything on the books right now.
Okay, okay, just,
It's really, once we get a plan, unit development, or special conditional use permit for this site plan and this concept, then we're gonna stay on that track. If we have to do something different, we'll have to come back and have another hearing.
Any other comments? One more? Well, two more.
Key point right there.
Okay.
I hope you'll understand.
Mr. Jones?
You gotta come to the mic.
Oh, sorry. If you would, can you back up to the slide that has the,
It does.
not that one,
Oh,
but there was another.
You wanna see the big one? That
Okay.
one.
Yes.
I'm trying.
Does that say public?
Public plaza.
How's that gonna work?
Oh, I think what you're asking is it gonna be open to the public, right?
That's what I think I see, public.
That's not really what
Well-
it's intended, it's for the residents, it's not
Public.
public in that sense.
To the right of this, if you see this wall right here on the second level, we're doing that for some features and landscaping. But remember, your retail's here, on this right side, on that second level. And some of the retail, depending on leasing and things like that, might work with PEPA to have their patrons actually use some of the amenities.
I think what
So
you-
we don't know that yet.
I think
No,
what
she's
you're
not.
asking
But no, it's
is-
not walk off the street and swim in this pool.
Okay.
That's what it is. But it's not just for the residents. Hopefully, I think that it should be open to some sort of business. But he's got two pools, remember, one's private, and the other one's private.
Right, so the point is that even once you approve this, we've got multiple stages of development we have to do to come back. And if we stray from any of the rules, then we have to come back for additional hearings. The whole idea is whether or not you're going to approve this, it's almost like an overlay district really is what it amounts to. It's a special district, it's called a conditional use, but really it's like a special district for that particular area. And you've already said that Coleman is a special area because you gave it a special zone and you've got special design criteria for it. And we're gonna meet all of the design criteria except for one, which was the deal about parapet. Yes.
About what? What's that?
The roof-
About the pitch of the
pitch.
roof?
Yes, that was the only, we were gonna be a
And
little
what's the,
different.
what's the issue with that? I know, I just saw it kind of
The
mentioned.
character is a sloped roof. I forgot the exact, I think it's 412 minimal, or, do you know that's minimal?
Is that a design guide?
Yeah, I read it, we had 312 behind the parapet. It's really, and Pepper and I have been talking about this issue for a while, and whether, we might end up, the final drawing might have I'm a 712 guy, he's not.
So we were going to a 212 pitch, and I think the requirement is 312,
Yeah.
so called.
So if you're gonna do a parapet, I'm not a flat roof guy.
Yeah.
So he's bending on letting me do a pitch roof behind the parapets. And, 'cause I went to water, I don't like flat roofs, period, south coastal areas. Traditionally, a 712 pitch is more of a vernacular roof. However, it's the owner's choice to give his flavor of the architecture.
Right.
We're doing a lot of the criteria, the sun shading, it's just that one pitch issue. And I'd hate to put a 312 pitch behind a parapet when I don't need it.
So what?
Not gonna see it.
So basically what we're asking you to do tonight is to prove the concept, for you to say to us that you think that condominiums not to exceed 21 will fit in this area. That you believe that the concept of having food trucks as the first retail level, at least to begin with, and with a second retail level being fixed restaurants or specialty shops, and then the third level being the remainder of those condominiums. Does that fit what you want to see on Coleman Avenue in the C02 zone? And if you do, then we can go forward with this residential plan development. We still gotta come back and we gotta design the whole thing, and go through all the requirements with the city, we gotta meet, we've not asked for any variances on parking, so we have to meet all of the parking we come back and we're off by one, we'll have to have a follow-up hearing, an advertised hearing. But we believe we have more than sufficient parking below the deck.
Without coming out to the, taking up the setback.
Correct.
Without coming to the curb, having,
Correct, right. We'll be, and we'll make this part of it, we'll write this in, that it will be at least 22 feet
Well,
off of St. Joseph.
On St. Joseph,
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back with the actual footprint when we get the designs and
Okay.
site specific. I'm gonna have to work with your permit officer to meet the requirements. On Coleman Street, it's gonna get down to inches on what's the best way to make it functional from a real estate.
up to the sidewalk that's
No.
there.
No, because remember, that's not commercial parking. You have a vendor.
He's asking what the setback would be
Oh.
off of Coleman. And I
Well,
think
same
we're-
thing the lady was at.
Yeah.
You know, if you build out right over, hanging over the street,
My vision is the colonnade, the covered walkways at the sidewalk, at the property line. 8 foot back from that is a walk that can have some pedestrian seating, whatever. And then behind that, you have 40 feet for the food truck operation. And then behind that, you have the parking for the condos.
So the
And
simple answer is that we'll be at least 10.
16 feet from the curb.
Yeah, from the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen those apartments over in Pastor Stan, where, on Minge, where they're sitting in the street?
I actually know something about Pastor Christian.
I know, you're from Pastor Stan, okay, I know.
I'm the city attorney over there. too.
Yes, I know.
I know about that project, yes.
I don't want it to look like that.
Okay.
That's just,
You're about the ones that mentioned second?
Yeah.
Mentioned second,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, yes, I even
Yeah.
took pictures of it, so in case
Yeah.
anybody hadn't seen it.
That project was unique in the sense that they did not, it started off as apartments and then they converted to condominium halfway through. And as a result, they had very small piece of property to work with. So, it is what it is, it's approved, and our ordinance is similar to yours, but not the same, in that we don't have setback requirements, we're zero lot line. So it's a whole different, you started off with smart code, something y'all don't have, so you won't see that here at all. Yeah.
Okay, I don't wanna see that.
I think it's a great plan. Like you said before, it's nothing hard in stone, there's no final drawings yet, there's plenty of opportunity later to address these issues.
That's right.
I say it's time to,
Make a motion.
Any
Doc,
more?
I have a couple
Wait, wait.
questions.
Okay,
in the
hold on.
final.
Glenn, who's your question for?
I got questions back there too.
Okay, come on up, introduce yourself.
Well, go ahead, I was just saying that for you.
I'm Gerard Sonier. I live at 101 Grosvenor Place in Waveland.
Okay.
The question I have is, the issue before you is to vote on a residential development zone. There's very little residential. I mean, why don't the existing rules for Coleman Avenue and Open, why don't we just follow those? Why do we need to create a new special residential area? I want to see development on Coleman. I just don't understand why we're using this mechanism to try to create all of this. The rules don't allow for that, you know, what they're trying to do in the open. Can't they do commercial and residential under the existing zoning?
Pretty much so.
Well,
I mean, the setbacks are zero,
Right.
and so he's
But-
willing to go 25 on
understand
St.
all that.
Joseph and 10 or 15 on
But there's
Coleman.
nothing that prevents them under the existing zoning from doing that.
I
So
don't
why do
think
we need to use this vehicle that was really designed for residential developments, not
Oh,
commercial
okay.
residential developments?
So the reason for it is, as I said before, you don't really have a planned unit development provision, so this is what you have. And the residential plan development is not limited to, you don't have a zoning ordinance that says you can only have residences in this particular area. You're allowed by right to go ahead and have retail there as well. In fact, your R2 zone, which, you know, steps down from CO2 to CO1 and then picks up the R2, specifically says you can have residential plan development. And the reason why you have to do residential plan development, not just stick with the existing CO2 zone, is because it's mixed use. It's commercial mixed in with residential, and it's right on top of, you know, there's residential on top of commercial, so you cannot go ahead and just use it strictly and say, I'm gonna take this round peg and try to ram it into the square hole. You have to go ahead and create special rules and considerations because of the fact that it's a mixed-use project.
Okay.
That it?
It sounds like we're trying to use something something that wasn't intended. I mean, this residential development, zone, it was really intended, you know, for like a mini subdivision. But, you know, if they can already do mixed use on under the existing zoning, I'm just not sure why they're coming to you with, you know, what are purely conceptual drawings. And again, I fully support development of Coleman, and I support building out, you know, unavailable land, for residential. I just don't understand why we have to take this path.
Maybe they're just looking for our approval.
Well, also,
Yeah.
well, against that, I think the idea is to have a conditional use and a site plan that's approved by planning and zoning, and the conditional use that's approved by the alderman of the city.
Right.
So that when we go in to get permits, the permit office can follow the plan. If we piecemeal this, okay, I think this is a safer bet on both from a development standpoint and a community standpoint. You know what's coming on Coleman as a master plan, rather than Pepper doing 3 townhomes and then coming in and changing the whole game and doing something different on Coleman. He wants uniformity, okay? With that said, there are no variance needed, but the arrangement of the buildings on the site need a conditional use. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay, well, right, so you said earlier, like normal subdivision.
Yeah.
Well, there's normal subdivision requirements that we're not doing, which is roads and right-of-ways and all
Right.
that. To do that on this site,
Well, but you are putting roads on the interior, because
No.
you said everything outside of the swimming pool is gonna be parking for this.
no, it's underneath. This is above.
This is above?
Yeah, this is raised. It's a raised plaza. Because of FEMA and BFE.
So the
underneath-
pool's gonna be raised?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's built pools on 50-story buildings before.
Yeah, no, I know.
Right. So, no, that's a good, it's clarity there. No, underneath the plaza is gonna be parking.
So you're saying from Coleman to
St. Joseph.
is all parking?
Once,
raised.
And from
underneath.
beach,
Yeah, on
Well,
ground level.
underneath, right, so underneath the condos is their part.
And it's underneath the
And around the
plaza.
pools and underneath, in the middle is all public parking.
so, but the pool's gonna be,
Yeah.
there's parking under the pools.
Depends on the elevation I can get. If I can get 9 feet, yeah.
So does
Oh,
that
yeah.
come all the way out to the beach? Is
No.
it elevated all the way out to the
It
beach?
comes all the way to the lot
The lot.
line, and then you have a road coming off the beach.
About 100 feet or so off the corner.
They have access on Beach Boulevard.
Yeah, there's a couple of homes already on Beach Road.
On the beach?
Yeah, I'll show you.
I saw that.
Let's see. You're right. Let's see.
Okay.
All right, maybe that helps you. You see this road right here?
I
So,
didn't see.
That'll come in.
I thought that was a soccer field.
Well, phase 1 it is.
And then, but you didn't describe any building up on the soccer field.
I'm just not good at describing things.
Well, I mean, I think that's.
Once this
important.
goes away, in phases, then the plaza becomes the amenity.
See, I heard phase 1 with these triplexes. Phase
You realize
2,
Michael's getting fired in after this.
phase 2 was the food truck area. Phase 3 was another set of.
So,
residential.
here you
And
go, right
so
there.
phase 4,
Underneath this is the park.
so that's all.
Audience report. Yeah.
I'll come meet you.
I'd like to see that.
I'll come meet you if you want and show you when you're not in the public forum.
One more question. Come in.
I just wanna make a quick comment.
Your name?
So, I'm a realtor here, and my office is actually in Bay St. Louis, underneath those condos, those 3 stories. And I'm telling you, we have people come in every week asking to buy one of those condos. I could sell those condos every day of the week. So there is a big need for nice condos here. And it's a shame because Old Town is out of space, and there's so many people that come to town, and then there's nowhere to park or go, so they go back the other way. And I feel like this is a gold mine waiting out here. I feel like what he's trying to do, I mean, is a great thing because we need. I just moved another person. I sold another house out here in Waveland. I keep moving people. They love it out here. And she asked me, when is you going to get more restaurants and stuff here? And I was like, well, they're working on it. So there's a lot of people coming in that want to make this their home. They're not just buying a second home. They're wanting to get a condo or a nice home here and make this their home. And Waveland, you got the space there to do it. So I hope they can come to an agreement to make this happen, because I really do think there's a big need for it. There's a lot of people, like I say, every day coming in wanting to buy a nice condo. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Dean Craner.
One more question back there. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Marcia Stewart, and I live on Molaire Drive. And I'm getting really excited about this because I've lost my home in the storm and spent a good bit of time in 2006 attending all the charrettes, all the meetings that we had talking about how to rebuild Waveland, and especially the part that you have on Coleman here. It looks exactly like a lot of the charrettes did, and I'm just real happy to see that because I can remember sitting in those meetings and looking at the, facades of what they said they would hope we would have on Coleman Avenue one day. And I remember thinking, pie in the sky, we'll never, have anything that's that cool. But this with the parking and then the businesses and then the homes on top, it's exactly what the experts were recommending for us back then, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice.
All right, come on up.
Valerie Fitz, 116 St. Joseph Street. My property, is going to encompass all the way around me, and our property is very low, and when we have storms like Zeta, Cristobal, there is easily 5 feet of water in my backyard, all the way up to my slab, and so I just want to see where is all this water going to go? If you're building up all the way around me, like way up, how are you going to protect my property?
Okay, so we're not building it all.
Go to the
We're building.
Right to the mic.
And that's part of the reason why, we're building a plaza level. Underneath the bottom, we'll be able to flood. It's designed to take on a storm or, nuisance flooding, I'll call it. We'll probably have to meet some hydrology, underground retention. Yeah, so I'll have to do some of that for the site specific, because I don't think we're gonna exceed pre-post development. But we're not gonna, distribute any water that's not being distributed now. Because we're not bringing fill in to raise the property or
And how are you going to protect the property you're building from when you have Zetas and Cristobal, from all of the water that it comes up Coleman, Arlington, it floods
Right.
completely, that whole area is
The-
underwater.
it's designed, if you wanna live in this area, I'm a believer that can coexist. So, I don't believe in changing topography of land. So it's built on pilings and piers. The lower area where the cars park will be flood-proof. They'll have to have vents for static pressure relief. And you allow one area, a certain square foot, I think it's 200 square feet. 299. So that area will be controlled space, but everything else is above VFE. So yes, a car garage is gonna flood, and somebody's gonna have to be smart enough to move their car to a higher ground, just like anybody else. But it's gonna flood. And that'll be told in the disclosure when people buy property too, obviously. The food trucks, that's why we wanna put them there. Because we have good terminology with police is that the storms come in,
So we are all the
movie
people
food
that
trucks.
leave their cars to.
North of I-10. I live in a low lot area too in Louisiana, and if we want to, I've had these debates and these issues before. When you flood, nuisance clutter or not in a home, it's typically less than 0.04% of the year. So for the other part of the year, the 99 point whatever, you're living in the utopia that you like, right? So that inconvenience, you have to be prepared for.
Yeah.
What bothers me is when somebody says, I wanna come in and put 10 feet of fill, okay? Now you're affecting your neighbor. That's not good. So if you wanna live there, live in a, coexist and make those arrangements when you have to move. Don't make that ground floor a living space and then complain about it afterwards that you flooded. So that's what we're trying to do.
We have to contain all of our drainage on site.
Right.
We can't stuff it, fill it.
But I think she's more worried about the geographic flooding and how do we,
Yeah, I got
because
it.
you don't want 21 homeowners, if that's what we get, saying, well, I lost my car, I lost this, somebody should pay for it. That's,
Then they're gonna have to move their cars somewhere, and where.
do you move yours?
No,
So if there's a hurricane coming in the Gulf, a major hurricane, you don't move your car?
we do.
Okay, there you go.
Same thing.
So you make accommodations, and that's what we'll explain to people, that if you buy here, these are just like the food trucks. If you rent a spot here, according to the government, you have terms that you have to plug your electric, your sewer, all that, move out of town. But the benefit to that, the long-term goal is we get those people back in quicker after a natural disaster or a problem to start providing services to the city. Whereas in the past, if it's on grade and it's flooded, you might take 6 months to 2 years for a rep, and never come back to a restaurant. So it's kind of a hybrid that we're trying to do as a statement to say we want to coexist. I don't know if that answers your question. Yes, they're gonna have to move their cars somewhere.
Thank you.
And
One
their
more?
sofas if they put them down now.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Okay, I guess I'll entertain a motion to accept this additional use concept. Motion by Four, seconded by
One.
I still
three,
have a few
by
questions.
two.
I definitely still
more
have.
Okay,
questions over here.
we'll
We got
vote.
one more question.
One more.
No, I just think, I'm not sure exactly, what are you asking for? You talk about the different, departures you need, but it's just not clear yet, and I don't,
For phase A, B, C, and D from a site perspective, a planning perspective. Blessing to let the aldermen decide whether they agree with that from a special conditional use permit. Site plan.
Okay.
That's really it. And use, obviously, but we have the square footages of each.
yeah, Malcolm made a good point that, yeah, maybe at one stage you're not there, but maybe when it's all over with, you're there. But to me, you're talking about, I just don't see why we even talking about all these departures right now, when the concept,
There is no departures.
well, this is talking about, it mentions 4, but I'm hearing about 6 different departures as we're talking about.
Well, let me clarify that. So to start with, the first one had to do with the square footage. Mr. Frater made that clear. Actually, if you take the entire site and you take into account, we're only off, I think you said.
About 450 per unit.
450 square feet per unit, so that's a departure, if you want to call it that.
Okay.
On the next one, which has to do with the design guidelines for the Coleman Open District, the only departure we're asking for is a modification of the roof pitch to go to a 212 pitch instead of a 312. For the maximum building area requirement of 70%, the only way that we will exceed that is if we get to a point where we have built out completely, okay? And that will only be if we do every single thing that we say we'll do in every single phase. So I have to bring that up just for that point. And if we do, he's asking what would the percentage be if we did exceed.
I'd have to get back.
Yeah, we didn't come up with a percentage and say if we do every single thing, then it's gonna be at 75%. The only other one was dealing with the 60% minimum build out. That's only on St. Joseph Avenue, and that has to do with the fact that we're only building those 3 buildings there on that side, and as you know, that lot goes further. So, and that is the only departures. We're not asking for any departure on parking. We're not asking to exceed the height requirement, and, we're not asking for any waivers of any requirements under the subdivision requirements.
You would wanna plat the whole site like this, but I don't wanna plat individual pieces.
Right.
Okay.
That's one of the bigger issues too.
Another way that we could have done this is we could have come out there and took the big lot and divided it up into other lots, right? 3 or 4 or 5 lots, and then try to come in and do each lot separately. But if you were talking about just putting a condo and not having anything on top of it, then maybe that would work. But if you're gonna have something that's gonna be a unique situation of having a ground floor, that's gonna be, as I said, movable food trucks, a second floor that's gonna be commercial, and then a third floor that's gonna be condo, that doesn't really work very well. So you really have to use the planned development. And by the way, the ordinance says that all of the uses that are allowed in that zone are permitted in the residential plan development. So, it allows for mixed use of commercial. We're not asking to put something on Coleman that's not already allowed by ordinance, a use. They're already allowed to have condos, they're already allowed to have, restaurants, they're already allowed to have specialty shops. We're not asking for any kind of use variances or any of that kind of thing. And it's not a rezone either, it's a conditional use, it's allowed. So thank you.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor that was made by 4 and seconded by 2. Any more discussion? We'll vote. Are you finished? Any more discussion?
No, I mean, I'm in my comment is, I'm excited. I really think something needs to happen on Coleman. I'm excited that someone willing to put his money up there and get things rolling. I think it needs to happen. I just don't think any of us is, I mean, at least I know I'm not, quite sure enough exactly what y'all proposing. I mean, I know we're hearing answers tonight, but I think there was a meeting requested earlier that never happened that would have maybe cleared some of this up. I think we need a better idea of what we're saying we're gonna move forward with before we move forward. Now, I am absolutely excited that, and it sounds like your whole concept sounds good, but at a very high level. I mean, I think we would all need to, we just saw the presentation for the first time tonight. I think we need a little time to digest what we saw and come up with some good questions, and y'all probably can have some pretty good answers for them. I think the overall concept is definitely fantastic, and I hope to see it happen. But, I mean, and all we are as advisory board, I know, but for me, I wouldn't be able to say, yeah, I think we need to go ahead with this yet until I have a little time to digest it and ask some questions.
Well, the way I interpret this is the concept. And if we approve this, then they will come back and have
Those
definitive
meetings will come.
plans. And then those plans will be subject to whatever the zoning ordinances are. And if they require variances or not, will be determined once they nail down their plan. We're just giving them permission to go ahead with this concept, something that's gonna look like this.
But it seems like there's a lot of things mentioned here that we're talking about deviations, and we don't even know what
He's
they are.
just showing that as potentials things, I think.
I just,
Have to identify
We-
it to you so
yeah.
that.
They don't know for sure until they have the plans actually.
Yeah, I have to
finalized.
identify it to you so that, you know, later on, when I come back with the subdivision plat, and you say, well, you never told me about this, I have to tell you, you know, we mentioned this, so that's why we have to identify it now, all right?
well, I mean,
Yeah.
okay, then all I could say is, I would agree, and I mean, everybody may be agreeing anyway, it doesn't matter, but to me, if we're not given any deviations, we're not given any waivers right now, we're just saying, we're looking at this, you know, that we're gonna have more of
We're saying this is a good idea.
Good concept, that's exactly right.
so there's no waivers.
No
of-
permissions.
No
are given.
permission here of any waivers from what's existing now.
No.
They don't even have a set of drawings yet.
That's what I'm getting, it's not, definitely, we're not at that
Okay,
detail
so-
yet.
Let's go for a vote.
Thank you.
Okay. Ready to vote? 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Pass unanimously, 4-0. All right. Where's the agenda?
I've been through these things where people spend millions of dollars stripping at a conceptual level.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we need a motion to adjourn.
I need the agenda. Lost it.
Oh, I have mine, but it's written all over.
Malcolm.
If you look at pieces based on conceptual, one of the things
But you see what I'm saying?
Just wanna make sure you know that.
We still need a motion to adjourn.
No.
We don't?
We got another item. Okay, item number 6. Recommended amendments by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen at their workshop on August 7, 2023, as follows. Article 6, Section 601, 602, 603, Article 7, 701, 2, 3, 16, and 17. Maybe we could just sort of break these down into different things, and y'all can consider them, or we could do them all at once. Find it here. Do them all at once.
Here it is.
Okay. Okay, in Article 601, it's accessory building size, and what they're proposing is accessory buildings after the completion of main dwelling, provided such shall be permitted only in a rear yard. Accessory buildings may contain up to 900 square feet, but not more than 50% of the main dwelling square footage. That's the proposal change to that one. In 701.1, minimum square footage is going to be reduced to 10,000 square feet. 701.3, minimum main dwelling living space square footage shall now be up to 600 square feet. The minimum,
800 square feet.
what did I say?
You said six.
It used to be, right, I'm sorry, up to 800 square feet. Okay, up to 800 square feet. 701.5, minimum side yard variance is now going to be 10 feet instead of 15 feet. And this sort of came up tonight a little bit, we didn't talk about it, but right now there's a maximum of 35 square foot height of a building, and the clarification of that is that now starts at above the floodplain.
Well, that's.
So the total building could be,
That's existing in the ordinance now.
Yeah.
So where you have your flood level, you start that height measurement from
right,
that.
not from ground level.
I think the clarification we're looking for is, how I interpret this ordinance since I've been here is, you end at the mean roof height. So typically, wherever you start your measurement, you end at the mean roof height. It's not the ridge.
Not the peak.
Not the actual ridge.
Okay.
So it's the average between on top of the wall and the ridge.
Yeah.
So that's a mean roof height.
Yeah, we already do that on accessory buildings.
Yeah. I'm not sure why they
Okay.
don't have that in there. Because the FEMA thing's been in there. It's already in there.
Same thing applies to 702.
Each district.
And 703, same things. They did take, I'm not sure where it is, but they took out the, on accessory buildings, there was something about that it was within 12 feet of the building, of the house. It had different numbers, but that's all
You
took
done,
that out, right?
completely
Yeah,
done
I
away
think
with.
so.
I've never seen that in any ordinance I've ever
Yeah.
read. And
Yeah,
like,
so-
they try to explain that to people.
Yeah,
So accessory buildings will,
so that's being, what they predicting, what they projecting is to remove that, right? So-
that's
Right.
gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
None of
Yeah,
those.
they did.
So what, the front yard setback will be 25, except on the beach, and the rear will stay at 25? Yeah, minimum rear yard is 25 also. Okay. So 25 and 25 front and back, and 10 now on the side, instead of 15. Okay?
For the main residence, right?
Yeah.
For the main,
Right.
for the main residence, right, okay.
And then an accessory building.
All right. Any questions?
No, and if I, what I remember right, this is what they had come up with.
This
We're
is what
just-
they came up with
we
the
just-
workshop.
Right.
So we just sort of, legally, it has
That's
to
the way
come
I
back to
remember.
us
Yep.
and be our recommendation
Okay.
that agrees with their recommendation.
Josh, I have a question on page 63F.
Wait, where? Page 63?
Page 63F.
F, okay.
It says,
Oh,
it says
yes, yes,
F,
it does.
F, yeah. It says accessory building that contain more than 500, and then in parentheses, it says 900 square
Right.
feet.
Typo,
That's a typo. Could you-
Right.
That needs to change.
yeah.
It is a typo.
Yep.
You're correct, you're right about that.
Okay.
Uh,
I wrote it right here.
I think the minutes from the workshop show the nine.
Nine,
In a word, this is just a typo here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
The
they do
minutes that
say.
y'all are looking to acknowledge and recommend to go to the Board of Aldermen show the 900 in actual minutes. Cause I asked Lisa about that,
Okay.
cause I noticed that problem.
Okay.
There was 500,
It was
and now
500.
it's 900, which I think we all agreed that needed to at least happen to get it to
900 is subject to not being greater than 50% of the residential square footage.
Right.
And it doesn't say it exactly like that, but that's the meaning of it.
And so that guy with the larger lot that we just talked about, that's okay.
No, that's all
He
gone.
would still have to come before you.
Like this gentleman tonight.
That's what she's talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
Even with this regulation, he would still have to come before you. But this lessens the variances a
Okay.
lot.
Yeah, he's a
That's
lot.
what Shane was looking for during that workshop.
I think
Okay.
they'll probably revisit it.
Okay. Appreciate it.
All righty, so I guess I need a motion. Yes, Jeremy, come up, please.
Jeremy Burke, 425 Edward Street. I guess my one issue with the changes is probably the minimum square footage of a house. Currently own a different municipality, 600 and
40 or something like that.
670 square foot house, one bedroom, kitchen, everything else. In Waveland, my first house I had was 790 square feet. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. I know we're probably splitting hairs here, but just generational wise, you still have some small lots in Waveland that I think can accommodate, if my parents ever needed to move closer to me in Waveland, I would love to be able to build them a more than efficiency apartment, but have their own place that, the 1-bedroom, 1-bath, kitchen, that would probably be closer to the 600 square foot. And I believe Waveland's building code, or correct me if I'm wrong, no, the one that the house has to be at least 20 foot wide regardless. So I think y'all have the unique.
I'm just grabbing this real quick.
Not me.
Sorry.
No, I thought you were grabbing me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You need to come back Wednesday.
Okay, I'll be here.
I guess my one question, I think 800 feet might be just a little bit large, just because, obviously we have large lots where they still have some lawn, and I think it could alienate some of the need of, not many people are interested in a 650 square foot house or 600 square foot house, but I think there's somewhat of a need.
Okay, you're preaching to the wrong people.
No, but I guess, aren't y'all recommending it to, so if y'all vote on it?
They've already, this is their recommendation.
It was their workshop.
They just
I
want
know.
us to back it up.
Yeah.
No,
we just-
but that's just
Yeah.
my one
Okay.
fear is, the one thing is whenever you have duplexes and a developer comes in here and says, I wanna build a 1,200 square foot duplex, 600 on each side, that would be affordable to, college student, teacher, fireman, whenever you start having to get to, 16, you have to be a 1,600 foot one.
Yeah.
That's your city employees won't be able to live in your own city pretty soon. If we keep on having to build sizes larger and larger.
I suggest you come back Wednesday.
I'm busy, sir. Very busy. This is my public hearing.
Any more comments? Hearing none, we will vote. Did we have a motion?
You didn't have a motion yet.
Yeah, we didn't have a motion to accept their recommendations. Motion by 2, seconded by 4. Discussion, vote 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4. Yeah, pass unanimously 4-0. And now I guess I'll entertain I have no comments. Public have any comments? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn. And so moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.